Madame Lorelei, is it?
What can I do for you, handsome?
How's business?
How's business? I have no time for such dull conversation, darling.
How about a reading?
The prices are listed on the sign.
They seem a little steep.
Well, I sometimes do my intimate friends for nothing, but I am a businesswoman.
I'm sure you are. That's a nice snake you have there.
Oh, I could say the same of you.
Well, I know where I got mine. Where'd you get yours?
That's personal.
I'd really like to know more about that snake.
Oh, sorry, sweetie, but I don't discuss Elvis with anyone.
Oh, nothing.
Well, then move aside, sweetie, but stay where I can look at you, okay? Come on, boys, hoopla!
Not a bad idea. Baby, I love the way you move.
Madame Lorelei winks knowingly at Gabriel and twitches her hips.
Yep, she wants me.
Thanks, boys.
Gabriel examines the veil with the magnifying glass. The fortune teller's veil is studded with sequins. The sequins look a little strange. Why, it's a snake scale. Gabriel carefully uses the tweezers to remove the snake scale from the veil.
I think this veil belongs to you.
Oh, my veil! I'm always losing those things. You have no idea. Well, darling, you're such a sweetie to return a lady's delicates, and so handsome as well.
Well,
And since you have such a clear interest in fortune-telling, let me see your hands. They look so strong. Perhaps they will make both our fortunes clear, no?
I wish something would.
Strong, yes, and yet so delicate and flexible.
You don't know the half of it.
Oh, good. I see a mysterious woman in your immediate future.
Madame Lorelei winks at Gabriel knowingly.
She is a dangerous one, dark and beautiful. Oh, I see the road of your life forking, and very soon.
The blood drains from Madame Lorelei's face in an instant. Sweat beads on her upper lip.
Are you okay?
There are forces. Oh, God. Beware. Beware.
What is it about me lately?
The iridescent scale is hued olive green. It doesn't seem to match the scale from Lake Pontchartrain. Looks like the lecture is just starting.
Voodoon is the tribal religion of Africa, but the name Voodoon is actually a banner heading, under which resides an entire body of distinct tribal belief systems. The word Voodoon may sound familiar to you. What is known in the States as voodoo is actually an amalgamation of African religious systems, Voodoon, and European religions, primarily Catholicism. All of these subcults of African Voodoon have certain things in common. The most important is the worship of a pantheon of spirits, instead of the single deity that the Christian and Muslim systems have. Some of these spirits are elementals. Some relate to specific tasks or places. Some represent important tribal leaders who have died. This spirit worship is what makes Voodoon so easily adaptable. With all these spirits, it's no problem to add a few more. Say, for example, the Virgin Mary. At the height of tribal Africa, warfare was common. One tribe would conquer another, and the Loa, important in the conqueror's tribal system, would be adopted readily into the conquered tribe's Loa pantheon. In this way, many of the Voodoon cults spread and mingled throughout tribal Africa, enriching the belief system and causing innumerable offshoots. The basis for the Voodoon religion seems to be as old as man himself. It has much in common with many early pagan practices: animal totems, sympathetic magic, elemental spirits in the trees, the heavens, the bodies of the sick. Africa is believed by many to be the cradle of the human race. Some of the Voodoon Loa may be as old as the Garden of Eden itself. We still can't explain some of the real power of these primal religions. And note, I said primal, not primitive. There are African Bokors who baffle our scientists with their supernatural powers. Now, let's discuss the elements of Voodoon.
Fascinating guy.
In Voodoon, the spirits are called the Loa. During a Voodoon ceremony, celebrants are possessed by the Loa. This is called being ridden. The human worshipper is seen as a horse, and the Loa as the divine horseman. A person being ridden by a Loa takes on the characteristics of that spirit and becomes, in effect, merely a vessel for the more powerful entity. Some of the older original Africa Loa include Dambala, the great serpent god, Ezuli, the mistress of love, Papanibo, or Gede, the lord of death, Awe, the spirit of water, Legba, spirit of the crossroads, and the cruelest and most dangerous, Ogun Badagri, the lord of destruction.
I gotta get more sleep at night.
Tribe-specific Loa can have as much or more power as the more widely worshipped Loa. For instance, a particular tribe might revere highly the Loa of an ancestor who was a legendary hunter or politician. Voodoon temples are called Houndfors. Their priests, Houngan or Bokors, their priestesses, Mama Loa. In a Voodoon Houndfor, there's a ritual circle marked by a center pole called a Poto Meton. During ritual conclaves, initiates dance under the supervision of a Bokor and a Mama Loa, or head priestess. The use of totems or animal masks and markings was not uncommon in the original African ceremonies. Now, though, all but the oldest sects have abandoned this practice. Ritual objects used during the conclaves included the ritual gourd, or asan, the ritual knife, or kubasa,
That knife gives me the chills.
the ritual whip, or fouetcache, and the ritual coffin, or seke madule. These items are often optional, called for by the Mama Loa for specific magical rituals. The Mama Loa is the most powerful figure in any Voodoon sect. Voodoon is a truly matriarchal system. Even the Bokor knows his power is limited. The Mama Loa is the supreme woman. She goes out of her house at night, sees many things, and tries to get butterflies, and at night again she sees other things, including fireflies.
Firelight. Gabriel?
What? Can't see.
Gabriel, get in.
Can't. It's too Roll for me.
You must get in, Gabriel.
It's not mine. Too small.
Hide, Gabriel. Hide!
No! Let me out! Help!
Young man, the lecture is over.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Are you a student?
No. My name is Knight. Gabriel Knight.
Well, you have already interrupted and slept through my lecture, Mr. Knight. I hope you have something worthwhile to do here. If you figure it out, let me know.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
You already sat through my lecture on the subject, Mr. Knight. Perhaps next time you could stay awake and learn something.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
I've read about them in the papers. I must admit to some interest. But according to the newspapers, the voodoo aspect is faked, so I haven't really pursued it. You know how Americans, especially Hollywood, treat Voodoon. I'm sure there are many so-called practitioners out there that have no idea what they're doing or the power they're playing with.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
I find it interesting to see the occasional fragment of Voodoon practices in the everyday culture of New Orleans.
What else can you tell me about New Orleans?
The Catholic Church has always dominated in New Orleans, and its imagery, in turn, has dominated New Orleans voodoo.
What else can you tell me about New Orleans?
If there's more you wish to know, perhaps you should read my books.
Do you know anything about snakes?
I'm not a zoologist, Mr. Knight, but I know all I care to about reptiles.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It's June 23rd, the feast day of St. John the Baptist. But June 23rd has been a sacred day since the earliest times. Ancient sun worshippers used to roll a flaming wheel down a hill to celebrate the sun's descent on that day.
A burning wheel. Huh. Do you know what Capri Sancour means?
Capri Sancour? Yes, I do. It's a Haitian term, I believe. It's French and literally translates as goat without horns.
As in a female goat?
No, as in a human sacrifice. Sacrifices in Voodoon are usually of the animal variety. Chickens, bulls, goats. If the gods demand a goat without horns, it means a human being.
Do you know anything about Marie Laveau?
While I find the colloquial bastardizations of Voodoon somewhat interesting, from a sheerly intellectual point of view, there's not a lot of relation between people like Laveau and true Voodoon practices.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
As I said in my lecture, which I assume you actually listened to, is that animal masks, totems, are used extensively in most African Voodoon religions.
Do you know anything about veves?
If you'd taken notes during my lecture, you wouldn't have to ask.
Tell me about Damballa.
Damballa is one of the major Rada-Loa, also known as Damballa Wedo. He is an ancient Dahomean rain god, often represented as a large boa constrictor. Damballa is the most powerful and most violent of the Rada-Loa. The Rada-Loa are typically benevolent, as opposed, say, to the Patro-Loa. He is still worshipped heavily in Haiti, and when voodoo first started in New Orleans, the early conclaves were reportedly based on the worship of the great zombie, the great serpent, Damballa.
Tell me more about Damballa.
I have extensive courses in the Loa running next semester. Perhaps you should take one of those, Mr. Knight.
Tell me about Ogun Badagri.
Ogun Badagri is one of the Patro-Loa. The Patro-Loa are much more violent than the Rada-Loa. Some people believe the Patro-Loa originated in Haiti, but I have found some evidence that the Patro-Loa were African as well. though worshipped only by a small Voodoon tribe, and a very bloody one.
Tell me more about Ogun Badagri.
He is a chief nasty, Mr. Knight. He is the spirit of war and destruction.
Tell me about yourself.
All right, Mr. Knight. I'm 35, a fully tenured professor at this university, as well as a fellow at Cambridge. My doctorate was obtained at Syracuse. Yes, Syracuse, in religious studies. I'm an agnostic, but I find human belief systems fascinating. I specialize in African religions because I grew up there. My father was a Protestant missionary. And I am heterosexual, when I practice sex at all, which isn't very often. Any other questions?
Oh, no.
Fine.
Tell me more about human sacrifice.
It's very rare. Most Voodoon practices do not include human sacrifice as a matter of record, but it is theoretically possible, if that's what the gods demand. For example, one of the chants I had translated for me from a Haitian ritual went like this. Mistress Ezuli, come and aid us. If a cock is demanded, we will give it. If a bull will suffice, behold it. But if a goat without horns is required for sacrifice, oh, where will we find one? Ezuli is the gentlest of Loire, so they call on her for mercy. But I have seen grown and powerful Houngan tremble before possession by one of the more violent Loire, such as Papa Nebo. Clearly, they are afraid that something of the sort will be ordered, or that Loire will simply take it for themselves.
Tell me more about human sacrifice.
I wouldn't dwell on it. Most Voodoon sects probably haven't seen a human sacrifice for several generations.
Can you tell me anything about this?
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. Mind if I copy this?
Be my guest.
Great. I'll be right back. Here you go. You know, this is a fascinating veve. You must tell me all about its origin.
Actually, I was hoping you'd tell me. Can you figure out anything about it from the symbols?
Well, some. That's why I wanted a copy. I want to research the design myself.
Have you heard of the Voodoo Murders?
No, you're kidding. Really? Then the voodoo is authentic. The newspapers are wrong. Boy, are they wrong.
You think this veve is authentic?
Authentic? Mr. Knight, that's like asking if the Mona Lisa is a painting. Tell you what, I'll look into these symbols myself and see what I can learn about the sect that made this. I'll give you a call when I have more information. You are associated with the police, aren't you?
Absolutely. But I'm undercover. You can contact me at St. George's Bookshop in the quarter.
All right. Now, I'd like to get started on this, if you don't mind.
Is there anything you can tell me about the voodoo aspects of this photograph?
This is a serious Voodoon ritual. Nasty stuff.
In what way?
Let's see. I can't make out much detail from this photograph, except for the corpse, of course, but the wound, the face, and what little I can see of the ritual paraphernalia, it reminds me of certain black Voodoon practices. Very rare. I've never witnessed them myself, you understand.
Really? Interesting. Thanks. I'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Curtain confessionals are a subtle, old-fashioned presence on the left of the nave. There's a knothole about the size of a quarter in the wood paneling on that wall. The knothole doesn't seem to operate that way. The knothole is part of the paneling. The panel behind the mesh window moves from the other side. Someone is in that confessional. Gabriel will have to wait.
May I help you, my child?
I'd like to make a confession.
All right, if it'll make you feel better.
I've had impure thoughts about a woman I met.
Impure thoughts? You mean thoughts of sexual relations?
You could say that, but worse than what you mean.
Worse? You mean extreme sexual relations?
Well, not involving animals or anything.
Oh, well. Perhaps we should just leave it at that. Pray for forgiveness and say 10 rosaries. Is there anything else?
I've done some pretty rotten things to my friend Mosley.
Rotten? What do you mean?
Practical jokes, insults, among other things.
I see. Are you sorry?
Well...
Pray for forgiveness and say 3 rosaries. Is there anything else?
I haven't paid my assistant for 3 months.
Have you had the money?
Nope.
Sounds like a matter for the courts, son, not the church. Is there anything else?
Some people say I'm a selfish person, Father.
We can always strive to improve ourselves. Patterns can be broken.
Yes. Thank you, Father.
Is there anything else?
I think I just need to give an overall apology to the universe.
I see. Apology noted.
Thanks, Father.
Is there anything else?
I've had a lot of women, Father.
A lot? More than 10?
Yes, Father.
More than 20?
Yes, Father.
More than 40?
Yes, Father.
Son, I don't think this is a matter for a priest. I think you need a good therapist.
If we're counting therapists, then I'm up to at least, let's see, count the one, and this might take a while.
My son, I'm afraid my lunch break is coming on about now. Pray for forgiveness and say 20 rosaries. On second thought, when you finish the math, say that many rosaries.
Gabriel hears him leave the confessional.
I should probably add 1 more rosary for that while I'm at it. I've been a bad boy. I've always wondered how the other half lives.
There's a box under the shelf of the priest's confessional. Someone is in that confessional. Gabriel will have to wait. Inside the box, Gabriel finds a priest collar and some oil used for blessing. Inside the box, that oil is for holy purposes, not the soul.
You never know when a priest's collar will come in handy.
sign on the front door of
Yes? Who is it?
I've got some great pet supplies. Coochie coochie coo, little doggy.
Castro has everything he needs. Don't you, Castro?
Thanks a lot, Castro. I knew you'd miss me, so I came back.
Really? I forgot you were gone.
I might be able to use this black shirt. I'll be back later.
Have fun.
All right, but this is private.
Yes? Who is it?
It's Father McLaughlin to see you.
Father McLaughlin, you say? You must be new in the parish. I'm so pleased to meet you, Father. Do come in.
Thank you, my child.
Please be seated, Father.
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions, my child?
Of course not, mon père.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
People think I'm just a foolish old woman, but I know the things they do. My family's been in New Orleans since 1750, so I know more than most. Voodoo people are all over the city, in the shops, everywhere. They'll curse you like that, and most people don't even notice. Spit on your bread at the bakery. Take strands of your hair at the store when you try on clothes. Oh, you have to be so careful. But I know their ways, so I can protect myself. I know how to use the magic too, and I can counteract their evil spells.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
The only true New Orleans are of French origin, you know? My family were among the original settlers of New Orleans. They came here from France. The Creole society used to be so gay in New Orleans. Now it barely hangs on by its fingernails.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes, they're evil creatures. Did you know that evil people can send them into your dreams? They can. That's why I never sleep.
Right, thanks. Do you have any idea what caprice encore means?
Maybe, I know. I bet you do not know, Father, n'est-ce pas?
It means goat without horns.
Father, you surprised me. You do know what it means. You know what they mean by goat without horns, don't you? A human being. That's right. slit your throat, cut out your heart. Pure evil murder.
Tell me more about voodoo in New Orleans.
It's just plain evil. It's dangerous to even discuss it.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
Voodoo murders? Ha! They are nothing new to me, Father. They happen all the time. I hardly go out anymore. It's too dangerous in the streets. They can get you anywhere, you know. Even here, in this room. But I try not to let them know about me. That's the best way.
What else do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
Shh! They'll hear you.
Do you know anything else about snakes?
It would be bad luck to talk about that anymore.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
Oh, St. John's Eve, Mary! I used to love the St. John's Eve Mass at St. Louis Cathedral. Of course, it is also a night of great wickedness, worse than All Hallows Eve. They will corrupt anything, Father.
They? They who?
Oh, you know.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I don't think I should say any more about that.
Do you know anything about Marie Laveau?
Oh, her! I could tell you about her. Voodoo Queen? Ah! My great-grandmother was an acolyte of Marie Laveau. She knows the truth about her.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She was only a front for the real evildoers, Father. And that's the truth about Marie Laveau.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Do you know anything about Veves?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
Oh, yes, Father. It is the wickedest kind. The kind they practice here in New Orleans.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Do you know anything about human sacrifice here in New Orleans?
Well, my great-grandmother could tell stories. She saw it. People say that sort of thing wasn't done in New Orleans. But the real voodoo queens did it. Oh, yes.
Tell me about yourself.
Me? I am Creole. My family has been in New Orleans for over 200 years. Real New Orleanians are French, you see. These days, the city is overrun with people with no heritage at all. No offense, Father, but it's true. But the French, naturellement, will always be the true blood of New Orleans.
Who are the real voodoo queens?
Well, my great-grandmother told me that Laveau was just a front, a flamboyant decoy. She distracted authorities from the real voodoo queen of New Orleans. It's been the same one for almost 200 years. She's head of a secret voodoo enfant. That's what they call their temples, you know. It's so secret, most of the voodoo people in the city don't even know about it. The real voodoo queen controlled Laveau, gave her a little bit of power, and used her like a puppet.
Tell me more about this secret voodoo hound for.
Well, I've never seen it. I wouldn't go near it if you paid me. But it's here in New Orleans, I guarantee it. I hear their drums at night, oh yes. That's why I'm so ill, I tell you, those drums. But we shouldn't talk about it. They'll hear us. It's the devil's work that happens there, I can tell you. I'll show you something secret. You mustn't tell anyone, Father.
I swear on my collar.
Here it is, mon père. A true object of evil if ever there was one.
It radiates something, all right.
It belonged to my great-grandmother. She told my mother that it was a token to gain entrance to the real voodoo ceremonies.
You don't say.
To tell you the truth, I've always felt nervous about having it in the house. You know, evil influence and all.
I can see how you would, yes.
And yet, I could never part with it. It's been in the family for generations. Would you bless it for me, Father? I feel strange asking such a thing of you, but surely you understand.
Bless this bracelet of a snake. Even though its vibes aren't great, let it do nobody harm when they wear it on their arm. Voodoo spirits, go away. Don't come back another day. And now let us pray.
Gabriel has a thought about the clay.
Bless, oh bless this circlet of silver. Take the curse, oh take it, Wilbur.
A lovely blessing, mon père.
Yes, I think it made a lasting impression. Here you go.
I feel so much better now.